You know, I was joking with you when I first got here this morning. All the doors were locked, so I was texting him like, "Hey, you know, can you come open the door?" And right when he came and opened the door, I said, "Wow, this is a full circle moment that my son is unlocking the door for my alma mater."
I just remember going to the Storm game last year and sitting courtside with her, and they put us up on the board, and they did like 2 separate spots. And so they put me on there, and they're like NBA star Seattle native, and everybody was like, "Oh, congrats," you know, clapping. And then they put her on there, and it was like, you know, UW basketball legend and Seattle native, and like the whole arena went like crazy. And it was like, but you saw all these like fans, and they all ended up coming up, and it was like, you know, so many people saying, you know, they watched her play and they remember her days. And
it's one of those things where I was like, oh, a little bit surprised, but then you're just so appreciative again, because the Seattle women's basketball fan has been a Seattle women's basketball fan forever. And they started, usually, not necessarily the young kids, but certainly their parents, as Paolo said, maybe their parents started as women's basketball fans at University of Washington. As I get further and further away from my playing time, I am appreciative of being one of the foundational pieces to women's basketball in terms of fandom, in terms of, you know, competitiveness, and, you know, there are things that you take for granted, and so I look back now and I'm like, wow, you know, I was out there doing some of the same things that some of these ladies are doing today.
you know, one thing that I always tell people that motivated me was just, you know, growing up, I would always meet people that knew my mom, older people, and they would always just tell me how much of a beast she was and how good she was. And I never got to see her play with my own 2 eyes, so it kind of was like this fairy tale in my head where I was like, no, really, was my mom really that good? You know, I didn't really. She did show me, I think it was like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
She pulled some tapes out, some like VHS tapes from her college days.
Okay, yeah. I had to go get
DVDs.
Yeah, yeah. I had to get them transferred to DVDs because who has a VHS tape?
Yeah, they were VHS tapes, but they got transferred.
Yeah.
When I saw the film, I could finally give my critiques and my opinions on her game. But it wasn't much room for me to like talk bad though. It was more good than bad for sure. I was like, oh wow, you actually were a beast.
Yeah.
But no, I think it was more just. It was more like younger, because I think as a kid, you know, you don't really know, like, that's the time where you're building habits. And so I think she was just trying to instill, you know, work ethic and mindset and just all these things that, you know, at the time as a kid, you're like, oh, I don't need that, or oh, I'm fine. But then it's like, no, you get older, you get more serious, and you're like, oh, no, I'm glad I knew that, or I'm glad that I'm this way, because if I wasn't, I'd be behind, or I wouldn't be where I'm at. So
Paolo mentioning that I was his coach, whether he wanted to or not, it was mostly not. And I was okay with that, because I knew deep down the amount of work that it was going to take, and I knew deep down the opportunities that were going to be presented to him and to all of our kids. And we just didn't want them to take it for granted. We didn't want it to be easy, because when you're doing things like he's doing now, you know, the world is not kind. And I wanted it to be more of a, oh, my mom told me about that, and or, oh, she said this, but it's actually a little bit easier than what she said. Not that it was this shock. So I'm just, you know, happy that, and thankful that we parented him the way that we did. I'm happy that I coached him the way that we did. And, you know, I know that I probably gave up some of my relationship with him as like a mom because I was so hard on him, but I would not trade any of it because of what he's able to do, the expectations that he sets for himself, how hard he works, what he's been able to accomplish, what's on the horizon. Those are things that you want for your kids.